So tonight we're out we're out spraying some of our native grasslands, prairie hay, whatever it's called in the area around here. We'll generally market this as prairie hay. If I recall correctly, Kansas blue stem is the technical term for it. Some of these fields in our area are really heavy with lespedeza, which in the state of Kansas is considered an invasive weed. Of course, we don't really want that getting into any of the hay that we produce and essentially propagating those seeds to somebody else's property. So we do take a lot of care and a lot of time to spray, not only for the lespedeza, but we're also targeting things like black locust, of course our favorite thistles and things of that nature. This chunk of ground is pretty terraced, it's pretty hilly, but it makes incredibly pretty prairie hay. So it's well worth the time and effort that we put into haying this chunk. This is our second year here. When we kind of inherited this piece of ground, it was kind of word of mouth. A friend of mine that I've known since I was a little kid, he and his dad used to hay, and they downsized a couple years ago. And we were blessed with the opportunity to be able to come in here and roll this up and hopefully make some connection along the way. And last year, like we said, it made some just really pretty hay. It pretty solid tonnage, so we were pretty happy with it. Pretty pleased. The clients that purchased the hay off of this chunk of land, they were also very pleased with it. They said that their cow-calf pairs that they were feeding to really took to it. So that was really nice to hear. We kind of decided this evening to do something a little different. Normally Garrett does a lot of the drone footage and just kind of the tractor running in action. We haven't really taken a lot of time to refine the personal level of running the farm. So there hasn't been a lot of narration, there hasn't been a lot of talking, there hasn't been a lot of explanation into what we do, why we do it, kind of where we came from. Our family, of course, is going to kind of understand why we're doing the things that we do, but the individuals that may be watching that don't know us so much, we thought we would kind of take this evening, and hopefully moving forward, to kind of explain who we are and what we're doing, kind of why it's important to us. So Garrett and I, we have another brother, Ryan, and he helps us kind of off the farm with some of the other stuff that he does. But Garrett and I kind of fell into this about 5 years ago. It really started out as we were just wanting to roll hay for my wife's horses. I guess I should say my wife and I's horses. We needed a way to feed them through the winter, and her mom and stepdad have some acreage out at the New Schaefer family farm. So that's where the New Schaefer portion of the name comes in. That's on my wife's side. So my mother-in-law, she's a New Schaefer, and they have a pretty good chunk of the family farm out there. And then Chelsea's uncle blessed us with the opportunity to buy/inherit another large chunk. So that is our portion of the farm. So Chelsea's got a good chunk of the New Shaper family legacy as well. And we started off a couple of years ago running Jim, who was her stepdad, running his old John Deere tractor. But started off running his older John Deere 4030 tractor, an old Premier 605F baler, which any of the people that have run some of that older equipment kind of can understand and appreciate. We'll say the day-to-day workings of some of that older equipment can be tedious. We ran that, and you know, the first year, admittedly so, was pretty terrible. There was a ton of growing pains. Garrett hadn't quite made it out to be a full-on assistant / helper / owner to everything that's going on. This year is probably his first year of being what I would call a full-on partner. So he's 100% ingrained into everything that we do now, all the decision-making processes, money flow, customer contact information, all that jazz. So he's really taken to it. We've had a lot of fun doing all this, but he has helped pretty much every year except for probably the first year. So that's a huge blessing to be able to share a lot of this with my brother and Ryan, who is our other brother. I'll get to him in a moment, but Garrett and I have done this for about 5 years collectively. The first year was terrible. It was mostly growing pains with that old equipment. That old Premier baler was, I don't know, problematic to say the least, I guess. It worked fine once we kind of figured out the nuances, the tricks, and just kind of all of its finicky bits and pieces. But once we got it figured out, it did its job. It did its job pretty well. It didn't make the tightest bale. We didn't get it off the ground. The second year is the first year that we kind of expanded beyond the home farm. We rolled everything at the home farm, and then Ryan introduced us to a nice chunk of ground up north of us that's owned by what would basically be considered kind of his bonus parents. And they graciously let us put up the hay up there. The first year we did that hay was pretty well full of thistles, full of little cedar trees, full of black locusts. But the hay is actually, the grasses that are in it, really pretty grown. So we kind of knew that if we could get it cleaned up, it would make some really, really nice quality hay. And we were right. The second year that we rolled that, it made really pretty grow. And it continues to do so to this day. And then the third year, we expanded more, fourth year, so on and so forth. And this year we've expanded to, we'll probably run, counting the acreage that we'll probably get 2 cuttings off of, we'll probably be close to 300 acres this year of hay. And our goal is to put up at least 1,000 bales this year. Garrett's off in front of me, and he's flying the drone. I don't know where the drone is. I don't want to drive over the drone. That would be less than ideal. Where's your drone? Over there? Dum-Dum maybe crashed into a tree. Yeah, I'm not going to run it over, am I? Where's it at?
My drone?
Yeah.
Hit a tree.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not going to run it over here.
No, I think it's right over here.
Okay.
Did you see me hit it?
No, I'm talking to the people. I would not recommend flying on any planes that he might be flying. Drones are sketchy enough. I would assume that tree jumped out in front of him. I don't even remember what I was talking about. This should be, now that we are safe from the drone attacks of 2024 here in the central United States. So this year we should have probably the biggest year that we've ever had. And Garrett and I's goal is just to continue to build upon the farm and keep kind of stretching outward. You know, maybe someday if it gets to the point where we can do this full time and incorporate cows or whatever the case may be, that's a possibility. But currently in our day-to-day jobs, we still enjoy what we do at a professional level well enough to not cut the ties cut the cords. We also don't necessarily have the income stream out here to be able to do this full time. Maybe someday. Kind of going back to what I was saying, Garrett and I are technically, when it comes to the equipment in the ground, outside of the new shaper pieces, we're technically first generation farmers. The equipment that we run now, of course, is all owned by the farm. So myself, my wife, and Garrett are all kind of cumulative owners, if you will. But when we started, we really relied on, and we continue to rely on the people around us. Jim and Christy were a big part of that, allowing us to use the deer and the Premier baler for the first several years. That kind of helped get the passion built. Kind of helped us start building a customer base, and it afforded us the capability to buy the Ford tractors that we're in now. Garrett's tractor, he did use some personal funds to purchase it, but the tractor that I'm in right now, the farm has kind of helped pay for that. The skid loader that we use for pretty much everything kind of helps pay for that as well. And then our baler that we run a New Holland BR740 that makes a little 4x5 bale, about 800 pounds. That was given to us, as well as our first disc mower, the Heston 9.5 foot mower. Both of those pieces were given to us by Chelsea and Osmo's parents, Rick and Fredra. They kind of adopted Chelsea many years ago, and then they were kind of stuck with me. But they've been just wonderful people to fall back on and really help us. A lot of education there, telling us what to do and what not to do. Rick has made hay his whole life. And of course, Frederick was right there along with him. They had a beef cow operation and given us a lot of pointers. Garrett and I's Uncle Larry, he's given us a lot of pointers. And you know, our whole family, this is kind of in our blood. We've done this collectively as a joint family adventure between the Leslie and New Shaper side for a long time. And then Lloyd has really given us a lot of pointers and a lot of opportunities, and of course the land that he helped facilitate us in owning is quite possibly my favorite place to be on the planet. It's a nice chunk of family ground, and we do everything that we can to make sure that it's well taken care of, and that the whole family, the whole New Shaper side knows that it's going to be well loved. Someday we'd like to put a house out there. We were planning on doing that, but the universe kind of had some other plans, and that didn't necessarily come to fruition. So here we are. It's been an interesting road that Garrett, myself, and Chelsea have been on. It's been a lot of fun. Doing this stuff is kind of cathartic when Garrett and I kind of sit in front of the computer all day long. That's what we do professionally. We work for IT companies. And what's really kind of interesting is when you work in IT, you don't really do any physical exertion. You get up throughout the day, and I try to go on walks with our dogs and things like that. But for the most part, you are sitting in a chair, staring at a computer screen. And we have found that we use our brains at pretty much 100% capacity all day long, trying to figure out puzzles, basically. So, in the evening, there's a lot of mental fatigue, and it's kind of a strange exhaustion, because you can get up and you can go outside and walk around for hours, as long as you don't have to use your brain, the body's willing. So doing this is kind of just a really nice way of getting out and being able to just move and operate and not feel stagnant, I guess. But we do, again, both have full-time jobs, so a lot of what we do is nights and weekends. Generally, Saturdays and Sundays are reserved for equipment maintenance, odd and end jobs, cutting firewood in the winters, early spring and late fall. So we do a lot of extracurriculars. That's kind of why this channel is named the way it's named. It's not just the farm. So we're in tractors pretty much from late May to early August. But when that time is over, then it's a sprint. And it is a mad dash to try to get all of your stuff fixed and maintained. You see the bank account get drained pretty quick, especially when you go to throw fertilizer and chemical on. It takes a big hit, but it's really been pretty enjoyable. We've had really good years. Really outside of the first year and the growing pains that it took to figure out, basically know pretty much nothing about how to make a bale of hay, to now where we can put out a couple hundred a day if the conditions are perfectly right. I think the most we did was 140 or something like that last year in a day. But that first year, it felt like I was out of the cab of the tractor unplugging the baler more than I was in the tractor trying to make a baler. And it was pretty terrible. It's nothing like in the middle of June, middle of July, sweaty as hell, trying to dig out 3/4 of the bale because you sucked up something that you raked wrong, and you got a big wad that just plugs that baler right up. That's a ton of fun. Do not recommend. I am running an app. It's called Field Navigator, and it's really kind of neat. We're running the free version. We haven't paid for it yet. We may actually pay for it. And that is a dead view. That's cool. The one thing I don't know about, one thing that I do want to get some better clarification on is the refresh rate or the update rate of the app. Does that have more to do with the GPS receiver in the tablet that we're using, or does the app actually restrict how quickly it refreshes? So, because that's really my only gripe. The refresh rate of the app is terribly slow, and you do get some overlap. But I can say 100% using this app is better, even with the kind of slow refresh rate. It is way better than not having it at all. Especially in these prairie fields where the grass really takes off a little bit slower than your fescue and your brown fields. kind of more of a warm season grass, so it doesn't grow as rapidly. So you don't really see your tracks. So this half works really well in these fields where you just really don't know where you've been. You can't really tell. This is the second year we've used it. It works pretty well. I do like it. A scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it about a 6 or a 7. At least for the free version. The chemicals we're using PastureGuard HL, so the high-load formula PastureGuard. And that's specifically for the Lespedeza. And then we do use a 2,4-D formula called Freelex. Both are by Corteva. We've used PastureGuard pretty much all 3 years that we've sprayed. This is the second year, I want to say, for the Freelex. And last year I was really happy with how it worked out. We switched to another section of the field. We kind of have to work in between the terraces. We almost split them out, like each terrace is its own little field. I kind of feel bad for Garrett. I don't know that he's going to want to sit through all of the commentary to figure out which pieces he wants, but it's kind of funny. You're going to have to watch the entire video. God damn it. This field looks really good this year. A couple little cedars here and there. Not overly concerned about them. They're pretty small. This field really surprised us last year. It did not look like when the hay was in the windrows, even after we raked, it really didn't look like it was going to produce a lot of tonnage. In fact, I actually remember Garrett and I talking. Garrett and I were talking before we actually came out and rolled this up. And I remember telling him, I'm like, I'll be happy if we get 40 or 50 bales off this. It just doesn't look like it's going to produce. And it blew us away. I think we were close to 80 on this field, so almost double what we thought we were going to get. It was just really odd. It was very deceiving. And it's kind of out here. This field is out here in an area where Garrett and I both grew up. The landowners of this field have taken really, really good care of this property. They don't live out here, to my knowledge. I think they live elsewhere, but it's always really well manicured. I suspect they kind of do what Chelsea, Garrett, and I do, and they kind of use it as I'm going to guess, like an escape, just to go out and enjoy the outdoors and just eat for a while. Garrett and I's goal is to get this field done, and then we've got a small chunk of land there in town that our Uncle Larry owns, and this is going to be the second year that we get to bale in. We're super excited. There's something about, on the New Shaper side, we've gotten the opportunity to bale that family ground for several years, and Chelsea really connects with that, but Garrett and I were part of the Leslie family, and he and I grew up watching Granddad and Uncle Bill bale the chunk of land right to the west of our mom's house. And we both remember riding in the baler tractor with Uncle Bill, or taking Grandpa hot dogs while he's out there running the swather. And of course, Uncle Larry and Jim, they took over the operation when Granddad and Uncle Bill kind of retired. And I remember watching them in the field. It's really special to us to be able to bale a chunk of land that's kind of part of our family legacy, and just kind of, I don't know, just kind of be connected with Granddad and the rest of the family as part of that. But anyway, just kind of be part of that family legacy, just part of that Leslie family name. We joke quite a bit that Garrett and I were about 2 years too late Leslie family farm shut down, and Larry and Jim decided to get out of it. It was pretty much almost exactly 2 years before Garrett and I kind of said, yeah, this is what we want to do. Because I was in between jobs. Garrett was still pretty hot and heavy, working where he worked. And we hadn't kind of pulled that trigger and just said, yeah, this is what we want to do. So all the family equipment was sold, and we missed out on that opportunity. All right. Yeah, do that. I'm going to turn this off. Maybe? Garrett, how the hell does your camera work?